Are you ready? Let's go. Hello. Bonjour, salam alaikum, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to this new live episode of Standout From The Crowd. If you're new here, hello. My name is Darine. I'm the host here, and every Wednesday I go live with a leader, to talk about topics that matter to us and our personal and professional development. And today's topic, is kind of touchy. It's quite touchy, I would say. And we're going to talk about authenticity. Authenticity has become the gold standard for leaders, right? Especially since the COVID-19 pandemic. People want to be led by someone real. We want authenticity, we want real connection. But how much authenticity do we really want from our leaders, right? Are we willing to be surrounded by leaders who are really authentic? And you probably have heard of our upcoming guest, Braden Wallach, aka the crying CEO, who went viral after posting a selfie of him crying after having to lay off two of its employees. He got a lot of backlash, a lot of support, but a lot of backlash. So, as I was watching this happening, I was like, but isn't it what people are looking for? Isn't it what people are asking for? Authenticity, vulnerability. So, do we really want authenticity from our leaders? What is this paradox when it comes to authenticity in leadership? And that's the conversation we're going to have today with our friend here and standout guest, Braden Wallach. Hey, Braden, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So thank you for joining me today on the Stand Up from the Crowd podcast. Authenticity. This has been trending for the past 2, 3 years, right? This is what people have been craving for. And we understand that. We have been like talking about the leadership crisis because we are just tired being led by people who don't give a damn about their employees, who don't give a damn about the people they work with. So that's what we ask for. But on the other side, are we really ready for a shift in leadership? So your post been viral. I took some note here. More than 60,000 engagement, almost 11,000 comments, more than a thousand shares. You have been featured, or at least articles have been written about you in like the greatest and biggest media outlets such as Inc., Washington Post, The Guardian, The Globe and Mail, Entrepreneur.com, CBS News. I feel like you have divided the word in two.
Yeah, I feel like that too, and I feel that's kind of the world as it is now. There's not much of a middle ground. It's either you believe really strongly one way or believe really strongly the other, and I guess this is one of those things that there was the need for strong feelings on both sides.
So let me ask you this question: Has your life is your life now back to normal? Because the past 2 weeks have been like quite crazy.
Back to normal yet? No. Um, we have been so before we let these employees go, which was in their own what I want to call it departments. We brought on a few new salespeople. So because of this post, our calendar has been full, but a lot of these salespeople are newer. So while I'm training them, I'm hands-on training. So all the calls that we're getting booked, there's two of us who are running all those calls. We got three people training with us. We're splitting all those calls with them, and they're on. But I've been basically 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. on calls with people who want to work with us every single day since that post. So
Since that
maybe
post.
yes. I mean, it's been a lot before then too, because we do outbound and we, do that kind of stuff. But because of that post, it's even more full than it was before. And a lot of people are just, let's work.
And so what happened during those calls? Like when they book a call, they're like, "Hey, I saw your post on LinkedIn. I want to work with you." What's the conversation? Because I'm sure there is some kind of conversation.
Yeah, usually it's like, hey, I saw your face in this news source, or my favorite was somebody who messaged me on LinkedIn. And a lot of the people that we're chatting with are people that we've had sales conversations with before, maybe fell off. And so this kind of like re got it in their mind, like, oh, hey, they still exist. One person said he was it on a vacation in Israel and looked up on the news at the hotel, on the news, TV hotel, and I was on news there in Israel. And
Wow.
so yeah, some just weird things like that, but just almost a, I guess, a brand recognition thing at this point of like, oh, hey, I know that guy's face. I've had conversations with him, or I've seen him in some of hypersocial stuff or things like that. I should definitely keep that conversation going.
And so let's go back to this post because this is where it all started, at least
Hmm.
publicly.
Publicly.
Why did you feel the need? So I'm not talking about the picture itself. I'm talking about the story. Why did you feel the need to share that story on LinkedIn? Because I guess this is not the first time that you are letting people go. Probably not. But
It's my
why
first
this?
time. My
Oh,
first time
it was
ever.
your first
It was
time
my first
ever.
time.
Oh,
I've
wow.
fired
Okay.
employees, sure, but that was on their performance. This was the first time
Yes,
letting go because of
your
things that I've
responsibility.
done. Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us about this need that you felt to communicate publicly and to share this story on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So as if people don't know, there's been a lot of layoffs recently. I'm connected and I'm very active on LinkedIn, so I've seen a lot of people being let go from, especially the tech industry right now.
Hmm.
And so I've seen different levels of leadership care differently.
Yeah.
Some, hey, let's
That's
get
so
a.
nicely said.
I, I, wa- I want to, yeah, trying to be nice for some of them. Some of them, they make it tougher
Hmm.
because they get 900 people to 1,000 people on a call and say, you guys are all let go effective immediately. And that's the end of it. And you're like, oh, okay. You just literally put 1,000 lives on the line and you don't care. And there
Yeah.
are those executives. And I feel like a lot of those companies have funding and they like, I don't know. We can really deep dive into that if we want. I don't necessarily want to talk about that. I've seen a lot of the bad rap that CEOs have gotten.
Yeah.
I wanted to put it out there because I'm a CEO by self-titled. Like I didn't apply to be a CEO of my company. It's just kind of the role that I took on while I was growing. I'm really just a small business owner who's just kind of helping piece it all together. But CEO is the kind of the natural title that kind of happens. So
Mm.
there are a lot of small business owners out there who are probably dealing with similar things at the moment where they're maybe having to let go of even one employee or three employees or a small
Hmm.
number, but they actually do care about those employees and what's next for them. And entrepreneurship, and I've said this many times, entrepreneurship and being a business owner is a lonely thing, like in and of itself. And not that I'm complaining because I chose it,
Hmm.
but it is a lonely profession. So I wanted to put us out there. So if anybody else who is a business owner or anybody else, is going through this, that they don't feel alone. One, and two, there are CEOs who don't just have millions of dollars and aren't just paying themselves every bonus they possibly can while destroying the lives of others. I took a salary cut first. I've only ever paid myself 250 bucks a week because I've just continued to invest into our employees, and it was the hardest thing that I've ever done, and and something I never want to do ever again. So that was kind of the reason for the post. Is I like to share my journey because we love the stories of success, right? But there's
Yeah.
not enough stories of like what it takes to get to success, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of the rags to riches stories or the underdog stories. There's been plenty of years where the underdog didn't win, didn't beat the bigger team, right? But then the year that they do, that's a story we care about. But why don't we care about the journey that they took along the way to get there as it's happening, not just okay, they won, right? A lot of people are
Yeah.
going through struggles. And I said, hey, I'm willing to open up with the struggle that I just faced. And if it helps somebody, then great, because they can feel that they're not alone. Not everybody has already figured it all out, like
Oh,
social media would have you
yes.
make it believe.
Exactly. And that's interesting because that's what is being asked from social media as well, not only from leaders, but from social media. We are sick and tired of seeing the perfect life of the perfect people on social media, including LinkedIn, and we want more realness, we want more rawness, more stories. Like, tell us, like, how are you building yourself? How are you building your company? Like, what are the ups and downs? And that's why I started this podcast, because yes, we achieved some success. Sorry about that construction. We achieved some success, but at the same time, see, this is part of the life
Sure
of being
is.
an entrepreneur.
This is real
Things
right
that you
here.
cannot. You have to keep going, but you want to share the challenges. So now, let's talk about the choice of the picture. Why your picture of you crying?
Yeah. The most divisive picture in a long time, I feel like. So when I think of myself and what my skills are, writing has generally not been one of them. I've got a few good things that I'm good at writing. I'm good at writing LinkedIn messages, and I'm good at writing some other things. But generally, my writing and my storytelling has a lot to be improved upon, and I'm happy to admit that. I'd much rather enjoy talking. So when I was thinking about writing the post, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to communicate exactly what it is that I'm going through. Picture's worth 1,000 words, and that picture was worth 60,000 reactions, I guess, or whatever it was. So that's why I took the picture. I was sitting there at my desk after just going through this, after I'd just been bawling way more than that picture leads on. I took three versions of the picture. I picked the second one, the one that made me look the least ugly of them. It
Oh my
wasn't the one
God.
that made me look the most cryful. It wasn't the one that made me, it was just like, okay, this one I look the least ridiculous in. That's the one I'm picking, because I thought the picture could share the story better. It's hard to understand pain. You can't understand pain if you're a better storyteller than I am. There's plenty of novelists that write great books. You're sobbing through them, feeling the pain of what the main character is going through. I'm not that level of a writer. I only have a certain number of characters to post on LinkedIn as well. I throw a picture up, people are going to get it to go along with the story.
And actually, I'm sure you have heard like the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Much more now, I think so. So I understand the idea behind. Actually, we have a question here from Robert, who asked. So hi, Robert, who asked,
Whatever.
if you could change one thing about the post, what would it be? That's a good question. Thank you.
Yes, I would. As weird as it is, and as much as that picture has now become a meme of whatever variety, um, I would keep the picture. I would change the statement that I made about. I wish that. What did I say? How did I say it? I wish that I was a business owner that didn't care, because I don't wish that. That was not true. What I meant by that statement was like, it hurts right now. So I wish that because I wouldn't be feeling the sadness if I was a business owner that didn't care. So just a little couple like phrasing things that I think could have caused some confusion with what people were saying about me.
Okay.
But other than that, I wouldn't change much, to be honest.
Okay. And just so I found that, so for those of you who may not know what post we are talking about, here is a picture of the post that we are
Oh
talking
no,
about.
there it is.
Very emotional. And here is one meme. So I selected this one because this one is funny. When you realized you are the president of Nokia.
That's good. That's
I thought
good.
that one was good though.
Yeah,
Um, but and like whatever you do on social media and in life in general, whatever you do or you don't do, the way you do it or the way you don't do it, people will have an opinion about it, right?
sure.
So that's part of the game. Now we often say don't make decisions when you are emotional. Do you feel that's something that you did? Do you think that you reacted? This post was a reaction to a difficult situation, or did you put some thought into it before posting?
I think it did come from a place of weakness, but in a way of there's always lessons to be learned for everything that we go through. And if I can help somebody else learn a lesson or not, or feel one way or, feel better about what they're going through or things like that, like I would do it over and over. The way I am in real life is exactly the way I am on that post. If I'm sad, you're gonna know I'm sad. If I'm happy, you're gonna know I'm happy. If I'm angry, you're gonna know I'm angry. I put my emotions out there because if I get them out, they don't sit and they don't stew and they don't bottle up until the point where they explode over. I get them out, and then I can make much clearer decisions afterwards because I'm no longer feeling the
Mm-hmm.
effects of those emotions, of suppressing those emotions down. And I think that for me is why, whether it was the post itself or just pretending like good to cry and then I feel all the sadness, and it just keeps building up, and then it comes up, and then you push it back down. It comes up, and you push it back down. And the clarity of decision making from there is a lot tougher because you have so many more emotions that are messing with you. I'd much rather yell or cry or scream or whatever, and then after that, I'm good. Like for me, that's always lived my life, and I've never really held grudges on anybody because I've never kept that stuff in. I either say it how it is, or I go scream it out loud, or scream into a pillow, or whatever it is. Not there's good emotions too. I'm not just talking about just the bad ones, but that help me, yeah, just make better decisions for life where I no longer have those emotions controlling me because I've let those emotions go, been released.
And so, actually, we have more comments saying like the copy of the post was good. There is definitely not much of a middle ground, but there should be in life, gray areas. And it's true when you said it at the beginning. It's like it's either all white or black. But sometimes you have to find the middle because that's what life is about, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting that when Donald Trump became president, that was a very divisive thing. And then COVID has been very divisive as well. You're either on board with vaccines and, you're going to kill my grandma if you don't wear a mask, or you're on the other side of like, don't touch me, don't tell me what to do. Like that has become divisive. And I think, and we only got to experience COVID from social media, right? We didn't get to have in-person conversations about what to do because it was COVID. And I think people have now taken that and said, that's how we should just handle everything from now on. It's either you're killing my grandma or you're forcing me to do things I don't want to do. And that's how we go into situations such as this post.
And actually, Chris here says vulnerability is the foundation of authenticity. Thank you for being you, sir. So let's talk about the paradox of authenticity. As you said, you either 100% or zero when you want to cry, scream, yell, you assume your emotion, you express your emotions, and then you move on, which is great. I think it's great. But when it comes to the paradox of authenticity, we talk about the idea of being too flexible, too rigid, or too vulnerable. So do you think that there is a such thing as being too much of authentic? Do you think like you were maybe a little too much in your vulnerability?
I think it's tough because that was what everybody sees there is a snapshot of a single moment in time. One single story from one single thing that I went through at one moment. I think people are assuming that I'm still just sitting here crying. Like it's been like the last 2.5 weeks, I'm just still crying and like I'm not doing anything about making better decisions or things like that. I think there's a way to do it in the right way, but where you're still leading from the front and you're still leading and doing and bringing forward, and you're still a part of that, but it's okay for people to know that you don't have every piece of life figured out. Like, I think there's a balance there, sure. Like, if I'm just sitting here on every call with my team and just crying from here on out, like, okay, there's probably some oversharing of the vulnerability, right? If I'm telling them every single dark thing that I've ever had happen at any time in my life, like, maybe there's something, or, that to be said. In terms of one snapshot at one moment, I think it's okay. And I don't think I feel like I was too vulnerable.
And we have a comment here from Michael who says teams want to be led with authenticity, but there can be too much being shared, which will scare them. How much do you share internally with customers and with the public and create unwanted outcomes? Share vision, roadblocks, and what's need to be achieved with your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer here says, never apologize for being your authentic self. Yes. And actually, Braden, we have Mr. Vulnerability in that place, Carl. So he specialized in vulnerability in leadership. So here is the guy.
Wow.
So you did something that very few leaders have done, at least on LinkedIn or on social media, is being vulnerable. Do you think that you were punished for daring to showcase a part of leadership that maybe people don't want to know, that people don't want to portray on social media?
That's an interesting question. Because when I'm thinking back to the response that I got, most of the people who seemed to be the most upset about what I'd posted were people who are not in leadership positions. Most of the people who supported what I put out there were leadership. So what feel like leadership leaders didn't feel like they were being called out. It was the other side that felt like that was what was, that's what like through my mind for I still don't understand it now, is the people maybe they had go from jobs, so it was personal there for them of like, oh, I've been let go by CEOs who don't care and you're just faking it. But I've not seen, there have been a few, but a lot of leadership has not been kind of them attacking me because I've been kind of putting the pressure on them to be more vulnerable, although they should be.
Probably, yeah. So, but it brings back the question then, do we really want, as a society, our leaders to be vulnerable, to be authentic? What are your thoughts on is being asked on one side, and observing that most of the people who reacted negatively to your post were non people in non-leadership position? So I feel like there is a contradiction here. It doesn't make sense. You provided what we ask for, what people ask for as a society. And don't get me wrong here, we need change in leadership. We definitely need change in leadership. Do you think maybe you were there like too soon?
Maybe we haven't made that adjustment as a society yet where we're really ready for it. Or is the bigger issue that too many leaders are not being vulnerable on social media, so we assume anything that they post, if they are showing that, is fake? And I wonder if that's the bigger thing there.
True.
And so I'm trying to look at it from both sides of like, okay, leadership, are they being vulnerable enough? Probably not. Are we assuming bad intentions if they are trying to be vulnerable, but are they posting the just the good things, and then if they post a bad thing, it's a pity party or things like that. So I think it stems from both sides of maybe we're not ready for vulnerable leadership. In that same regard, how do we know from a LinkedIn post if they're actually being a vulnerable leader? Because there's so much crap out there. We've seen plenty of people fake it until they make it in this world. And so it's hard to identify what's real and what's not.
What's not? That's very true. And there is a comment here who says, at least he came forward and acknowledged what happened. A lot of people do it behind closed door. Exactly. And here, Carl says, I saw you. Sharing vulnerability empower others. Braden, your post was just the beginning of a movement. Ooh. Do you feel, or do you think you have started a movement? Do you think that you were the first one of many more to come, many leaders who will be finally open to be more vulnerable?
I don't think I was the start of a movement. There's a book, Steal Like an Artist. Gosh, I can't think of the art. I can't think of his name. I read a couple of his books. Steal Like an Artist is basically you are the lump sum of all the experiences and all the stuff that you've put into your mind, and you kind of take and put your own thing on those. I think I've been able to, if I'm starting a movement, it's not been because of me. It's been because of the people that I listen to and the leaders that I follow who, depending on their platform of choice, maybe they're not being vulnerable on LinkedIn, but maybe they're being vulnerable in direct conversations or in smaller groups or on, it's going to be, I like Joe Rogan a lot, and I think he has a great open mind. But he's also something that he said a few podcast episodes ago. I remember I was walking the beach with my dog when I heard him, and he was willing to say, like, tell his friends that he feel like, so he's big into fitness. He's willing to tell his friends that he is concerned for their health if they're starting to get more overweight. But he's willing to have those direct conversations and kind of put that things out there. And he always talks about what his struggles are. And I think that has been one of the bigger influences. It's not me that has started it. It's been somebody who has a much bigger platform than me that I've ever had or expected to get from this post. And not just Joe Rogan, but plenty of other leaders who have kind of put that into me. And then I was just the one that was willing to put on LinkedIn, I suppose.
But that's interesting because I came across an article that was saying that was questioning why is this guy getting so much backlash, because he's not the first one being vulnerable or eventually crying on social media. And they were giving the example of high-profile female leaders, Ariana Finton, and other high-profile female leaders were mentioned in this article, who at some point in one of their posts were vulnerable, crying, but they didn't get the backlash. And that was interesting because that was looking at your post and all the craziness around it from a gendered perspective because of the stereotypes, and the attributes that we may expect from women being sensitive, vulnerable, and crying versus men being the strong, tough leaders, knowing his way. And finally, you were like, listen, this is me. I'm a man, I'm a leader, and I'm crying, and that's okay.
You can be both. It's not one or the other. You can lead your company forward and tell them your vision and your goals and be direct with them, and you can cry. Like you can have emotions and you can care, and you can like it doesn't need to be an either or situation. And sure, there is a place for strength, and I'm not saying that we should try to just be weak in terms of what we do. We should try to be strong, and we should be. But how each of us gets to our strength is different. Every superhero got their strengths from a whole variety of situations. So who's anybody to tell us or anybody that because you showed emotion or because you achieved your superpowers that way or your strength that way that that's not the right way to do it. And that's the part that I think is interesting is it's not women are this and men are that. Sure, women are more generally more emotional. Men are less put their emotions out there. That's how kind of we were raised. And women build relationships face to face, and they have those one-on-one conversations. And men build relationships shoulder to shoulder, doing things together. Where we don't talk about our feelings and that kind of stuff. So that has been kind of cultural, but it doesn't mean you can't have both. It doesn't mean you can't be nervous for something or be sad because something happened or be overly joyous. And be strong at the same time.
I agree 100%. And I like to say, listen, we are all in the same boat. At the end of the day, we want to thrive, we want to live a fulfilling life, and it ain't easy. It takes hard work, dedication, commitment, trials and errors and failures. Like, this is part of our life for every single one of us here. So we are in the same boat, no matter what we show or what we don't show on LinkedIn. So now I think there are like a couple of good news that you may want to share with us. What's happening next for you?
Next, this has been such a great time to chat with the rest. We still have 15 employees left, and the amount of comments that said, "Okay, so what do there's always this, or there's always that, or what are you gonna do now that your business is closed?" I'm like, okay, the business isn't closed. Like we let 2 employees go. There's still 15 people we gotta take care of too, as well as make sure that the employees that we let go are on to bigger and better things. So next for us, but we've also got to spend a lot of time in figuring out, okay, what decisions do we make? How do we learn from them? How do we grow from them? We spend a lot of time figuring out how we can take even better care of our customers, how I can check in with them more on my end as the business owner, see how they're doing, just giving them those updates, see how we can communicate better with our clients, even do better work than we were doing before. Kind of back to our old stuff. We've reverted back to the services that we had before. We kind of changed just how we structured our services. We went back to the kind of the monthly. We have new length contracts as well. So on the business side, that's kind of what's happening is we're just taking this initiative, taking what we're doing and just going to keep on running with it and keep doing the absolute best job for our clients that we can do. On the personal side, there has been no strategy in terms of what to do from this because as plenty of people said I did it on purpose to go viral. I wish I was smart enough to have done that to go viral, and
You
if so,
cannot
I would.
plan to go viral. I went viral once, like millions and millions of views and comments. Like I didn't. You cannot plan to go viral because you never know how people are going to perceive and react to you sharing whatever you want to share. So stop saying that, people.
I know. I wish I was that smart that I'd planned it because I would have had a much better plan from here on what to do and where to go. For myself, I tried to use this opportunity to continue to grow the business that we have, take care of the current employees that we have, working with them in terms of saying, one, how can we use what's happened here for the company's good? We've seen. I made a post of one of the employees I let go. I made an announcement of who he was on LinkedIn. He shared. I sent another screenshot, or he sent me a screenshot of his LinkedIn inbox and the opportunities and the applications that he has gotten because of this. will continue to share my journey along the way, so people can see, okay, he has gone to this. I started Hypersocial with my last $150, and we're much higher than at $150 now. But then, there's still this. This is kind of the path to growth. It's not just a straight up trajectory. So, but then when people are going to see me up there, it wasn't just, okay, he got there. How did he get there? People are going to see my journey along the entire way. Also try to use it as an opportunity for those job seekers, people who have been let go, to utilize the comment section to match with recruiters. And I've connected with a lot of recruiters as well and tried to make a lot of introductions there. So trying to take the platform that we have and not just use it to my own benefit and my company's benefit, but to the benefit of people, period. And however that is done, then I'll do it. But I'm literally making it all up as I go in terms of what to do with the virality.
We have a great question from Carl here, asking how's your current employees dealt with this new found fame, so to speak.
It
That's a
was
good
interesting.
question.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I think for our sales team, they're very happy about the amount of calls that they have. It's nice to see those inbounds, and we've never been a first call close organization, but we've had several clients this week who have just come onto a call with our sales team, closed very, very quickly. I think the sales team is enjoying that, but that we also have a Slack channel where we use for every single new deal that we close, and the whole team is in there. So they're all seeing the whole team, even if they're back end or they're not client facing or anything. They're all seeing the benefits of what this is doing. So we can, the more money Hypersocial makes, more money we can take care. We have to take care of them and towards their benefits and towards their pay and things like that. So that has been a good thing. When I first made the post, I told my head of marketing, her name is Lizzie. I said, I went viral last night. And I don't think she believed it at first. I think she's like, oh, yeah, cool. She's a
You
Gen
got
Z
10
and I'm a
likes. Okay,
millennial.
that's cool.
Yeah, she's like, okay, what'd you get? You boomer. Did you get like 10,000 views on something? And I was like, okay, we're up to 3 million at this point. And then we hopped on a call and she was like, okay, this is real. This is like really viral. And then we watched it go from like in an hour the next morning, we watched it go from 3 to 4 million viewers in about an hour's time. At first, she was going through the comments and she was livid at some of the comments that people were leaving for me, and which just testimonial for the relationships that we do have with our employees is the employees have seen the benefits of this newfound fame. But in addition, what they saw there on LinkedIn is who I am with them, period. Not that I'm always sitting there crying, of course, but they know that they've got full transparency with me, where Hypersocial is, what we're doing, what next steps are, how I can be better, that kind of stuff. They know that's who I am. And they know that LinkedIn post is an actual reflection of me as a person and not just me putting something on social media, for the fame, I guess.
So they must have been very surprised to see all the reaction. I mean, all the comments about, yes, you are faking it and this and that. That must have like shocked them to a certain level.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, just sitting there. So I hopped on my head of sales, my head of marketing, and then our head writer. And we just kind of sat there. And we're like, okay, we're trying to brainstorm of how to use this. And then we started going through some of the comments, and they were just like, oh my gosh. And then they've messaged me on a daily basis since then. They're like, we don't know how you're keeping your head up because of all these nasty comments. I'm like,
Wow.
heads up, it's fine. So they've been nothing more than supportive of it, and they know that that's how I operate, and that I do care for each of them, and that I do put my heart's on my sleeve, and they know exactly where I am. And so I don't think the virality or the post itself is what affected them. I think it was all of the backlash, and that
The
post
backlash,
became
of
so
course.
popular that
Yeah.
affected them more.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience or with the community in terms, vulnerability, leadership, the post, the situation? Is there anything that you would like to share with us?
Sure. Don't post crying selfies on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm
Lesson
just kidding.
learned.
Lesson learned. I think the bigger way of leadership from here is you don't necessarily need to be vulnerable on a social media platform, because anybody and everybody is able to see that. It's technically a public place, right? So it's like me going out into the world and I'm getting opinions from all kinds of people who have never met me. They figured out everything they need to know about me from one post and one picture. But being vulnerable with the teams that matter and with your company and with the people that are under your leadership, having more of those vulnerable conversations should be an approach that everybody should take. Whether it's one-on-one, telling people, hey, I'm going through this, whether it's in a group, whether it's your entire company. If people know that how you are, your employees joined your company for a paycheck, obviously, but also because they believe where the company is going. They believe in what the company is doing. It's a two-part thing. You don't just hire employees. Employees hire you too, in a way. Not hire,
Yeah.
but yeah.
It's a two-way street. No, it's a
It's a
two-way
two-way
street,
street. They choose to be
like
employed there. Yeah,
exactly. You hire them, but on the other side, they buy you. Like they
exactly.
buy you, your leadership, you inspire them, you motivate them. Like they appreciate or they feel aligned with your vision. So 100%, it's a two-way street.
Exactly. So I think having more of that transparency, we've been doing that and we've been focusing on working on that as a company for a long time, and myself and our leadership. And we've seen our relationships grow, and getting through the hard times in a business is so much easier when you know we're all on the same team, and then they know I'm not taking some giant paycheck off of them
Yeah.
taking their pay. They know that I have put whatever I can aside, and to continue to try and take care of them the best that we possibly can, and we continue to add more and more benefits and things like that. And I think that's put us all on the same side. So bad things happen, but we grow from them as a team.
Yeah.
And now it's just on to the next up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, for sharing like your story in all transparency. That's why I contacted you, because I was reading all those articles about you, but I was like, yeah, but do we give him a chance to share his side of the story? Because the story has always two sides, right? And people are so easy and quick to make an opinion about others on social media, that at some point, we need to speak up, to use our voice, to amplify our voice so we can increase our influence. And that's what leadership is about, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's why we talk here on the Stand Out From The Crowd podcast. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being here with us, Braden. This is well appreciated. For those of you watching the live and the replay, because I know many of you will watch the replay as well, leave your comment and questions in the comment. We'll look at them and answer all of them. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. You take care, you stay safe, and I will see you next week for another live episode of Stand Up From The Crowd. Bye bye, everyone.